have you been into collectibles and comic books?
I've been into collectibles and comic books my whole life. My dad got me into it when I was a young child, and I love collecting stuff. I've got an addiction for Marvel and DC vintage books. What somebody's willing to pay for it. You can ask whatever you want for something, but you're only going to get what a collectible's worth. So when you're putting a value on your collection or anybody's collection, always remember, the higher the value you put on it, the more apt you are to pay a higher insurance rate, the more apt you are to have jealousy, have people, trying to take your collectibles, trying to get them off you. It's going to draw a lot of attention. So I can say my comic book collection is worth $24 million. That's what I have it insured for. Basically, that collection could only be worth $10,000 if that's all somebody's willing to pay for it. Another key factor to your collectibles, guys and girls, is how you store them. If they're not stored properly, collectibles become worthless, especially paper collectibles. When you're collecting antique cars, dinky toys, G.I. Joes, action figures, they have to be in the card. They have to be in the packaging to be extremely valuable, and the packaging has to be perfect. Same with comic books. It's a paper collectible. They're very hard to get in high grade condition. Anything over a 9.0, as the CGC certified guarantee company says, it's hard to get, guys. Paper collectibles is one of the hardest collectibles to try to get in a high grade or an excellent condition. They take on a little ding, a little bend, a little mark, and a book it becomes basically worthless. Worth something to the collector, of course, but as for a value standpoint and being worth something that's going to go up in value and appreciate, the books can't be. If they have any sort of dings, they have to be perfect. So to put a value on a collection is this: a collection is worth what a collector feels it's worth, and it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
How did you become an Overstreet Advisor?
I became an Overstreet Advisor just this year. It's a new thing. I've always used the Overstreet Guide. I've gone by it my whole life. My father's gone by it. We've been around since Overstreet started. His evaluations were always on point. They were always a fair market price on a book and a great guideline to collecting. A lot of the collectors nowadays will use a current price on eBay or a current price on an app on their cell phone, like Key Collector, GP Analysis. These are great tools to use to see if you're paying a fair price. Looking at a book that's just sold tells you that that's the one you just missed. I would love to pay what I paid in the 80s to fill up my gas tank, $20 to $30, but I'm paying, $100 to $200 nowadays. So basically, looking at something that's sold on a platform gives you a guideline so you're aware of what somebody else paid for it, so you can know that you're not getting hosed or ripped off. But to say that, the last book that sold is worth $200 and that's what I want to pay for this one is absolutely insane. You cannot base your purchases on what a book the last one was sold for, because that's the one you just missed. You have to look at what the book is available right now on the market for. If a book's available right now for $500, the last one sold at $200, and you can't buy one for $200 anywhere else, then guess what? The book's worth $500 if the collector's willing to pay for it. I became an Overstreet Advisor because of my vast knowledge in comic books, because I've watched them come, I've watched them go, I've watched them fall, I've watched them rise. I've also been reading the Overstreet Guide religiously, and I've noticed errors and mistakes throughout the years. So I've sent in my information, and they asked me to be an advisor based on my knowledge and let them know what the fair market values are for the comic books for each season. The problem is, with the current movie trends in the market, it's really hard to figure out, what something's worth. A new movie comes out, or a new actor, a book becomes popular, and instantly goes through the roof. Then there's the fact that some people on the internet will ask, a crazy price for a comic book to try to cover a mortgage payment, an alimony payment, a credit card debt. Who knows? Somebody else will see that same price and it follows suit. This creates what's called a market trend. Market trends are great if you're in it for the short run and you want to make a quick buck in the comic book industry. If you're looking to, do something for the long haul, leave an investment for your family like my father and grandfather have done, my mother, and I'm doing for my children, you need to use something that's a reliable source that will teach you which books go up, which books go down, and which books stay the same. The Overstreet Guide doesn't jump a book up based on a current market trend because of a movie. What they do is they look at the rarity of the book, how many are produced, and they make an accurate market decision. So if you're an investor, a true collector like I am, you're going to use the Robert M. Overstreet's Overstreet Guide as the real collectors call it, it's the Bible. And you're going to use this comic book guide to base all your purchases and all your decisions so that years down the road, you know you've got a solid investment. When CGC was created in the early 2000s, when CGC was created in the early 2000s, they used the Overstreet Guide's rules on how to grade a comic book properly and mated their column system in the guide based on what they saw, in the value of the book, where the damages were. They used the columns in the Overstreet Guide to mate up their grading system on their slabs. And I'm going to show you an example of that right now. So this is the 52nd edition of the Overstreet Guide from 22 to 23. And if you look here, you'll see that they've got columns and prices right here. And you'll see there's grade point scores up here from 2 to 9.2. Now remember, collectors, when you go over 9.2, it's up in the air. It's what really is what a collector's willing to pay for it. And that tells you guys, if in the Overstreet Guide it says 9.2, anything over a 9.2 or a 9.2 and higher is creme de la creme. It's the best grade you can get in a comic book. I'm excited to show you guys a lot of my collection and a lot of the stuff that I've accumulated over the years. And I hope that you pay attention to what I'm trying to teach the new collectors out there and, set a new example for the new generation of collectors so that people don't take advantage of you, take advantage of your children in the comic book market. You have to know exactly what a book's worth, but you also have to try to get a deal. And that's how you build a great collection. If you're going to pay exactly what the book said, what people are asking for a comic book everywhere, if you're going to pay exactly what a book is asked for at every store or everybody you're buying, it's going to drive the price up and make the hobby unattainable. And after all, guys, nobody wants to buy a comic book for exactly what it's worth. We're collectors. We want to get a deal, right? So Robert M. Overstreet has asked me to be an Overstreet advisor so that I can help you guys assess the current market value, try to help keep them up on top of the times, let them know which books are rising and falling so that they can still be, and as always, the cutting edge and leading in the industry. And with me as an advisor, guys, I'm going to help them to stay on top. There's only about 116, 120 advisors, and I've been asked to be one. And I am thrilled and excited to have the privilege to have my contributions and knowledge included in the guide coming out this summer.